Hi guys, welcome back to Mental Health Mossy United's videocast. It's me, Aaron, the gaffer Matt, and our social second kit man, Dan Eustace. Hi boys, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
Good, mate. Thank you.
Good. So it's been a long week, I think, for a lot of people this week, with lots of speculation in the air about what's going to happen on Sunday regarding lockdown. So we're just going to change the subject completely today, and we're going to go with our all-time England international select. So we decided we think that we won't be going back any further than around kind of the year that Matty and I were born. So we won't be going well into like 40s, 50s football, but we'll certainly go from 80s onwards in regards to our selections. There will be crossovers. We expect that because some players just you cannot not pick. But we'll discuss them as we go through. So we'll go through goalkeepers first, then left back, right backs, etc., etc. And we'll encourage some discussion as we go. So Matty, Gaffer, fire off with your goalkeeper of your England select, mate.
Yeah. I don't think we were particularly blessed in our lifetime with England keepers. I've gone for David Seaman.
Okay.
He had a good career. He had a good club career at Man City. and you know, I think he played for another couple of clubs, maybe Peterborough as well. I can't remember who else. But he was just a solid, dependable keeper. He was probably the last real solid one we've had, I think. For me, Seaman.
Seaman, did you say Man City? Wasn't he Arsenal?
I don't know. He might have been. I'm not sure.
QPR, I think, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah, I know he started at Peterborough, and then he had a few years in the wilderness. Let's say.
Yeah.
And then he went to Man City at the end.
Right. Yeah. Nice. That's good.
Good career.
That's good. And his highlights must have been at Peterborough though, when he was on his best form.
The best thing about him probably was the ponytail, and then he did Strictly Come Dancing, didn't he? He was really good at that as well. Yeah, I think that'll do for me. Yeah.
Oh dear. Yeah, good. All right, David Seaman, nice one. All right, Dan.
So most of my players are from sort of like 2001, 2002 onwards, because I was born in '96, so I never actually saw the Euro '96 team because I was like 6 months old, and then Euro World Cup '98 and Euro 2000 slightly too early. So mine's sort of from 2001, 2002 onwards, from when I was about 5. So I didn't go Seaman because the only memory I've got of him is being lobbed against Brazil in 2002 World Cup by Ronaldinho. So I couldn't go for him. So like Matt said, we haven't really had that many good keepers, to be honest. So I've gone for Joe Hart from my lifetime.
Okay.
I think sort of like 6-7 years ago, he was probably right up then top 10 keepers in the world, and I thought he was really good for England actually, particularly in Euro 2012 and around that sort of time. I remember him playing for Man City in the Champions League, making all sorts of saves. But the only other picks I could have really had are David James and Paul Robinson, who neither of them really covered themselves in glory when they played for England. And Joe Hart, I think he gets a lot of criticism now. I think he has made quite a few mistakes, but I think he is an amazing shot stopper, and probably a little bit unfairly criticised, I guess.
I always wonder whatever happened to him. He went from being City number 1, and then he couldn't even get a kick at Burnley. Went to Italy, didn't he? Did he go to Italy?
Yeah, he went on loan to Torino.
I always wonder what happened with him, really. Claudio.
I still think he could do a job, couldn't he, in the Prem, probably.
Well, you'd like to think so, but he obviously wouldn't. He obviously can't because I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird.
I don't know what happened, but if you want to use a drop in form, drop in confidence, drop in everything example, then Joe Hart has to be one of your examples, doesn't he? Because he did go from hero to absolute zero. His career changed in such a quick transformation. It was crazy. He went from, like Dan says, being one of the top keepers in the world, actually at the time, to just not playing and not getting any mention, made a few mistakes, and those mistakes kept following him. I felt like he made a lot of mistakes continuously, and I feel like it just put him in an absolute dungeon, didn't it, really?
Yeah.
Weird. It's weird.
It kind of reminds me of Torres, but in a goalkeeper. He was all right. He maybe wasn't the best goalkeeper in the world. Torres was the best striker, but he was sort of like up there in the top 10 keepers in the world, and then he just kind of just completely folded and tailed off, and now no one really knows. I don't even know. Is he at Burnley now? I think, but
Yeah, he's at Burnley. Yeah.
I don't think he's played for him, has he?
No, he's
No.
third choice behind Nick Pope and Tom Heaton, isn't he?
No, Tom Heaton's at Villa now.
Heaton's at Villa, yeah. I just think it was similar to like what happened with Paul Robinson. Like Paul Robinson was a really good keeper, and then he made that mistake when Neville passed it back to him, and he did that air kick, kicked underneath the board, it went in the goal.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, I think then Tottenham dropped him, and his career just nosedived. I think that's the the difficulty of being a goalkeeper, and it can go from hero to zero.
Yeah, it can go tits up pretty quick as a keeper, can't it?
Yeah.
Well, you're always like you're the last line of defence, so anything that goes past you,
you make a mistake, it's a goal, isn't it? So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right, you can get
cool.
away with
Yeah. Well, we'll take that one. So for me, I've gone a little bit further back than you, Matt, actually, and I've gone with in the latter of his days. I've managed to on the database find that he was still playing when I was kind of born. So I've gone for Peter Shilton.
Class, yeah, good shout.
Who was finishing off his career just about the time, end of the 80s. That's when we were kind of coming into the world, Matt. So he was, for me, and I've picked him from his West Ham days, which was one of his last. So, yeah, Peter Shilton, great keeper, right? Probably one of...
Yeah, back then, we actually did have good keepers. Like Banks through to Shilton. We had a few good keepers at that time.
Yeah.
That was when we were known throughout the world, actually, for always having a good keeper.
Yeah, I mean, Shilton was world number one, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah.
He's England's all-time most caps, I think, as well. 125, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think
what
he played
clubs did he play for? Leicester.
He actually had a spell. Like he had a weird spell in the 90s. I think it was early 90s.
Argyle?
Plymouth Argyle.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
He played for Forest for a long time.
Yeah. Leicester, Villa. Leicester, West Ham.
Yeah. When Forest were class, I think he was their keeper when they won. I don't know.
I think I've met him actually.
Have you?
Yeah. Yeah,
I bet his tash wasn't as good as yours, was it?
No, he had knee tash.
Stemo's tash beat you, I reckon. Nah, I didn't actually.
Cool.
Nah.
So we've got Seaman, Shilts, and Joe Hart. Yeah, cool. All right. So in regards to formations, I've gone for a typical old school England 4-4-2. Have you?
Yeah, I've gone for the same. Although, I mean, I've got no defensive midfielder, but yeah.
Okay, Matt, what have you gone with?
Yeah, mine's like a 4-4-2, I guess, or a 4-3-3.
Okay, cool. So we'll go. Shall we start with right back then? Let's start the defensive line off with right back. Dan.
I didn't really have much choice here, to be honest. It was out of Glenn Johnson, Trent, or Gary Neville, pretty much. So I've gone for Gary Neville because he had the most caps. He did a pretty good job. Worked hard defensively, I guess. Had quite a good link up with Beckham down the right hand side. I think in sort of like 5 or 10 years, I think we said this in the Premier League one that we did, that in 5 or 10 years, Trent will probably surpass him as the best English right back of the sort of the last 20 or 30 years. But he was a good player, like you said. But I didn't really have a lot of choice, to be honest, because it was either him or pretty much Glenn Johnson or Trent. So yeah, I've gone for Gary Neville. He was a steady right back, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Yeah, Gaffer.
Yeah, same. Gary Neville. You could make a mention of Kyle Walker, I guess.
Oh yeah. I forgot about him.
But then, like Dan said, I mean, for me, at the time when I was falling in love with football, it was Gary Neville, Danny Mills. Couldn't have him in the team, I don't think.
Luke Young.
Too ugly.
Luke Young. Yeah, Luke Young.
Luke Young. I just, we had some strange players.
There was no competition for him, though, was there?
Nah, there wasn't.
Nothing, mate.
But then,
who was the backup right back?
But that's the same at United.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was Gary Neville, or who else was it?
Raphael when he came in, yeah.
Christ. Yeah,
he didn't have a lot of competition, did he?
He was pretty dependable. He wouldn't do you wrong, I don't think.
No, and he was patriotic, wasn't he? He was,
Yeah.
you know, he was an international sportsman. You know, he played every moment on that 90 minutes through his heart. He completely went, you know, pedal to the metal, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hated him as a player, to be honest, because of the
Correct.
whole like Man United thing. But as a pundit now, I think he's quality. And also when he was England assistant at Euro 2016, when he was assistant to Hodgson, and Sturridge scored against Wales, and he pelted it down the touchline with all the subs, and they had a massive pylon in the corner flag in front of all the England fans. That was my favourite England moment for Gary Neville.
That was right up there for me as well. To be fair, although we were so bad in that
Yeah,
tournament.
we were.
But that was class. Yeah, that was quality. I remember I threw a glass at the wall. I don't know why. I was so buzzing. I picked up a glass and threw it at the wall. It smashed everywhere.
I love that as well.
Yeah,
I love Sturridge, so I was absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, it was such a bad goal as well, wasn't it? Like
it was, yeah. He kicked it off two defenders and then just scraped it against just proper P roller when in the bottom corner.
Good.
Yeah, go for it. Go on.
So I've also gone for Gary Neville, which I think is not a surprise. So I've actually put a reserve in. I've gone completely outside the box here, purely based on the player that he presented himself as in his younger days when he broke onto the scene at City. He had a few caps for England, not as many as he perhaps should have, in my opinion. But I've gone with Mika Richards as my right back.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually.
Because of his strength, his speed, his prowess. You know, he was a beast. He was the modern day Adama Traore, wasn't he? In regards to stature, he was a monster.
Yeah.
He's another one who kind of was really good and then just kind of completely went off the scene. He was at City, wasn't he? And then he went to Villa and he just never played.
Mate, that was historically the worst Villa side we have ever played.
Remy Gard was manager, wasn't he? Was it
Remy Gard? Yeah. Tim Sherwood brought him in, and then Sherwood got the sack. Remy Gard came in. Jordan Bowery was our leading striker, and Barry Bannon was our holding midfielder, and we had Mika and Lescott at the back, mate. It was abysmal.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that time when I think you lost at home and Jody and Lescott put on his Instagram a picture of his car.
A picture of a car.
And he said, "Oh, it must have gone off. It must have done it in my pocket."
In my pocket.
Yeah. It must have slipped. It must have slipped in my pocket. Yeah.
That didn't go down well, to be fair, with Villa fans.
Wasn't that just as they got relegated? Relegated as well? You posted that.
Yeah, and the week before we just been banged 6-0 by some League One team. Terrible, mate.
Funny time.
Terrible. That was the worst time as a Villa fan. That was the season we got relegated.
Didn't you get to the cup final though? Was that the cup final?
Yeah, and we got banged. We got banged by by those that shan't be named, Matt. 4-0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, so we got Gary Neville. I think is the right decision for that position based on several factors. There wasn't much competition for him. He was probably the longest and most loyal serving England right back we've had probably in some time. And, you know, at the time, he played for one of the most exciting teams in the country and probably the world at the time. So, for sure, he was definitely the right choice. So, left back, let's switch over to the other side of the field. And we go with left back. I'm going to go first on this one. And I'm going to go for Pearcey. So, Stuart Pearce, I've chosen at left back. I loved him. Ping of a left foot. He was a West Ham boy, so my dad loved him through and through. Yeah, I loved him. And he also played for Spurs, didn't he?
No, I don't think he played for Spurs. I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Who else did he play for in the Prem?
Forest, West Ham.
QPR?
Maybe.
Anyway, Pearcey. I've gone for Stuart Pearce. And another, for me, similar character to Gary Neville. You know, a real England warrior. He might have missed that horrendous penalty that year. But, yeah, good player. I liked him.
To be fair to him as well, he had the bottle to, I think it was Euro 96 when he took one against Spain and just levered it in. And, I don't think any Englishman would probably have been more buzzing at the time to see him after the Italian 90, to see him just level one in the net. and like his celebration for it. I think that probably said a lot about his mentality.
Yeah.
And his strength of character to step up, because as JP said last week, taking a penalty is not, especially on your home competition.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Fair
Didn't
play.
he then went on to Man City, didn't he? And then also got the manager's job there, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now is he punditry in now with the rest of the veterans?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing really. I always
I've
thought
heard him on TalkSport a few times, but
I always
Yeah.
thought the FA were kind of grooming him to be the England manager.
Yeah.
When he did the under 21s quite successfully for a while.
Yeah.
Never quite made the jump.
No,
and every time there was an opportunity for him to step in, someone else foreign came in and took the job.
Yeah.
I think it was when Capello actually got the job for England, and PSE was touted for that job, and then Capello came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden we had, I remember that. Yeah. Right. Good. All right. So that was my left back, PSE. What are we going to go for, Gaffer?
I imagine Dan will go for the same. Ashley Cole. In my lifetime, probably the best left back that I've seen or known. Again, he had a good career at Chelsea. He didn't play anybody else. Roma. But
Derby, yeah.
Derby, that's it. But I've just
LA Galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did, didn't he? Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
I just think class left back at a time when, defenders weren't really. He was probably one of the first to get involved in the game further up the pitch as a left back. And yeah, like I said, playing for England around like 2006 to like for a few years, he was probably the best left back in the world. I think it was Euro 2004. I think when he was just different class.
Yeah.
And he was probably the best in the tournament. Yeah, a great left back, and I just think that's a no-brainer, really, that one.
There were several occasions where Cole was touted for moving over to Spain for Madrid and Barca, and it never really happened, did it?
He could have played for either of them, I think. He could have played for any team in the world. He was that good, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Ashley Cole's a good choice. Yeah, good. Dan, finish us off. Your left back, Ashley Cole again.
Yeah, probably apart from obviously Gerrard, he's probably my favourite England player of my lifetime. I think he's got about over 100 caps, and I think that's the most for an England fullback. So you probably actually argue he's the best we've ever had, maybe. I don't know. I think you said, didn't you say you were speaking to your dad, weren't you, Matt, about it? And he said he'd have him in.
Yeah, I mean, he's lived a lot. Well, he's lived a long time, so he's seen.
And your dad knows his ball as well.
Yeah, he does. To be fair, and he saw us. He's seen us win the World Cup and that. And he said he had Ashley Cole in his all-time team, and that's. But then he had Neville as well. I was a bit like.
Yeah.
But
again, there was, I think both of them, ironically, played at the same in the same era, but they were superior to all the others that we've had to choose from.
Yeah.
Really, they were, and you can't lie, you can't deny that, can you?
No.
I think I read a stat in his first 68 England games. He started every game and he didn't come off, and he didn't start on the bench and then come on. He started literally every game. He had a little bit of a mean streak in him as well. It could be a bit of a bastard, which I quite liked. And I think we mentioned it before in another podcast. He did kind of get like scapegoated by the media a little bit because of the whole thing with Cheryl Cole and all that. But yeah, I think for me, one of my favourite England players of all time, and that's not even a.
I think if he didn't have if he didn't have that bad boy like image, I think he would be like revered probably as one of the like. I don't know.
All-time greats.
The FA would go to town on it, like how brilliant he was and stuff, and he'd be everywhere.
Yeah, and he'd probably be in the coaching staff as well, or something like that.
Yeah,
I know he's still playing, isn't he? And he's at Derby, but
is he still playing? Yeah.
I think he's sort of like, or is he stopped? Was that last season?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm not sure whether he played this.
I never remember him.
He played the year that Lampard was there. He played in the promotion season.
Yeah. I don't know if he's still playing or not.
Yeah. And then he moved. I don't think he is, mate. I think he left.
But, he's
He's 38, man. 38. The guy's 38. You know what I mean? He's done, really, isn't he, in regards to playing, really?
Yeah.
But Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Lovely.
he had a great career.
He did. Okay, cool. So what we'll do now is we'll do our two centre backs at the same time, all right? So clearly we're going to cross over here, probably on one particular young man. But Gaffer, do you want to hit us off with your centre backs, mate?
Yeah, I've gone for John Terry.
Yeah,
that's probably the one that crosses over.
Yeah.
The other one was really tough because I had a few. I was going to go left field and I was going to go Des Walker. Now, I was watching clips of him this morning, just a classy, real quick across the ground. But then I thought, was he quite at the elite or especially in my lifetime? Like he was good in, I think it was Italia 90, but I was born in 91, so I kind of missed that. Unfortunately, I wish I was alive for that. But so I thought everyone's going to say Rio. I can't have Sol Campbell in the team. I just can't. Over my dead body he'd be in my team, and Rio. But I've gone for Tony Adams.
So he couldn't have Campbell, but he could have Tony Adams.
You got to respect. I think sometimes you just got to respect good players, and Tony Adams was just a good solid centre half.
He was,
and he led that team across, up the road. He was a proper leader, I think, and he was. Him and Terry at the back would have been phenomenal. I don't think you'd have scored a goal past them. So yeah, I'll go for Tony Adams.
All right, Tony Adams.
Ledley King will be on the bench.
Of course he would. Of course he would. Super sub Ledley.
He's knackered,
yeah. Dan, who have you gone for? John Terry?
Yeah, JT. And then my second one, sorry, Matt, is Sol Campbell. It was kind of like a toss up between Campbell and Ferdinand, and I just don't think Ferdinand was that good for England really at all.
I definitely think he was overrated. I really do. I really do.
So do I. Like for United, he was quite good for United, but like in terms of England, I don't really think he hit the heights for England at all. And it's a little bit of a shame that I think Campbell, when he played with Terry at Euro 2004, they were quality together.
Yeah.
And he was strong, he was powerful, good in the air, quick, good at carrying the ball out of defence. I'm not his biggest fan because of obviously I don't support Spurs, but I've got a lot of mates that do. That's kind of made me hate him because of the way he went from Arsenal to Spurs. So Matt is probably driven that end a bit. So. And I didn't. I as a manager as well. You just got like all the stuff he was coming out with. Was it Notts County? Was it? Yeah. Now I think he's at Southend now. He's always moaning.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is a weird bloke. But yeah, as a player, I only saw a little bit of his career, but yeah, really good. And then obviously JT speaks for himself. I think probably he was a bit more. I actually think he probably could have played on a little bit more for England. I think he retired in 2012. He maybe could have played another season or two. I mean,
he only stopped playing for England because of the whole racism incident, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise he would have done.
I think that says a lot about. Yeah. I think that says a lot about him because, and obviously the racism thing happened and it was wrong and whatever, but he still got picked after that. They still chose Terry over Ferdinand. I think that if anybody wants to know who was the better player, I think that probably tells you it.
The reason why Capello left was because he said that the FA wouldn't let him pick him and wouldn't let him be the captain. So Capello resigned. And Capello's England tenure wasn't anything special, of course, but that's probably says a lot that Capello people that know would have Capello down as one of the best players of all time, one of the best centre halves of all time, and the fact that he in an incident that was really controversial that he kind of stuck his flag in the ground for Terry probably says quite a bit.
Corner, yeah.
I agree.
To be honest, like in my lifetime, again, we haven't exactly been blessed with amazing centre backs again for England. To be honest, Gary Cahill was actually quite close to getting in mine. That's how. I thought he was all right, to be fair. But
it's a real shame. I was watching a documentary last night about Bobby Moore. I wish I lived in Bobby Moore's era because he was watching clips back of him, and then just the sort of the bloke that he was.
He's phenomenal,
how elegant and just what a classy player. He could have played in any era, in any England team.
Yeah.
He was that good. He was that good. He was.
If I'd have been born another 10 years earlier, I'd have had Bobby Moore in mind today.
Unreal.
Unreal. And spent all of his time at one club as well, which is unreal as well.
Yeah.
Shite club, but fair enough.
Dear. But, imagine because Schultz and Bobby played together at the end of Bobby's, beginning of Schultz's, and they were class at West Ham together. Class. So my centre-back, again, I'm sorry, Matt. It's another Arsenal boy. I was going to go for Campbell. I was going to go for Tony Adams, but instead I've gone for Martin Keown.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
Yeah. Purely because, I've got three of them down here. I've got Sol, Keown, and Adams. So you've said Campbell. We've talked about Adams. So I'm going to go with Martin Keown. And also he had a link to Villa, didn't he? He started his career at Villa, and that's really important because most great players start their careers at Villa. So, I think that's, for me, Martin Keown. He was all right. He was a good defender. He was a good defender. And I'll put him in there. I don't have much else to say about him, really. If I'm honest.
Stuart Pearce and Keown playing next to each other. That's an absolute psychopathic defence. As well. You wouldn't want to play against it, would you?
No. I think I've gone for a kind of self-replicating, strong wall side. That's what I've gone for with my defence, I think. So, so I've gone for Keown. But I totally agree on your choices. And it just so happens that a lot of the good defenders played for the scum, didn't they, Matt? That was the end. That was it.
It seems like it, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, really unfortunate. I don't want to give them too much airtime, but they haven't, to be fair, though, since those days, they've been an absolute shambles at the back.
Yeah, correct.
Utter shambles. They've spent some money on some dross. And, in the last few years, they have been a laughingstock.
43 million on Mustafi. What the hell?
Pascal Sagan.
Sagan. Played his best football at Villa, mate, Pascal.
Who's making these signings?
Hey?
Who's making these signings at that? You know what I mean? At the back, they never fill the slots that they need, do they? They never get they never go and get a proper centre half.
No.
What a joke of a club.
Yeah, absolutely. Enough said on them. Anyway. Enough said on them.
Yeah,
they are.
Well, let's move on to probably a position that we're all going to be drooling in now. So right midfield. I'm going to start us off. I'm going to say Becks. David Beckham on the right is my choice.
Class, yeah.
Good. He was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I remember really when football really started to become a kind of religion in my life, later childhood, early teens, Beckham was the man. He was the boy. Everybody wanted to play like David Beckham. His right foot was the best right foot I've ever seen. And he could whip balls in like nothing else. So for me, Beckham, he's my choice at right. Dan.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think he's the only English player to win the league in 4 different countries because he won it obviously with United, Real Madrid, PSG, and AC
Galaxy.
He is a Galactico, isn't he?
He is.
Did he win? Yeah, I think he won it with Galaxy as well.
Yeah.
I think he's probably put in the best individual performance I've seen of an England player when against Greece. I think it was 2001 when he scored that.
Free kick. In the
but if you watch the highlights, and he covered 16 kilometres that game.
Wow.
And I think the average for a player to cover now is sort of like 11 and a half or 12. So he he absolutely ran the show.
But on and off the field,
he's a bit of a villain,
was a class act, wasn't
he? In 1998.
Yeah,
he was, yeah.
I know he had his
and then obviously
educational
he turned into a bit of a hero,
issues.
didn't he? Into
Yeah, I know he had kind of like some educational issues.
He I think he's a bit underrated, really.
Yeah, he was. I was going to say that in my piece, to be fair. Criminally underrated. Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I just think like
Yeah.
he had such a fantastic club career that goes a bit unnoticed. He's just seen as this poster boy, like media darling, just a really good looking fella, everything. But people actually forget that he could actually play, and he like Dan said, his club career, he played for all the top clubs, all of them. He even played for AC Milan and stuff, and I just think, I think he would. Yeah, he's my pick as well, definitely. And like I said, he was the poster boy of football when I was growing up, of English football. And his transformation as well, from like Dan said, from when he got sent off in '98 to becoming the England captain and becoming such a leader that he was, you just think that's a hell of a transformation. Even the way he spoke, to start with, he sounded, almost thick as two short planks. But by the end of it, he's doing all sorts. He's just a proper. He's one that you could say, he's an idol, an inspiration for the journey.
I agree.
He was so proud to be England captain as well.
Yeah. And like you said there, you touched on there about his educational.
I think as well.
There's some sort of delay here, isn't there?
Yeah, I think I'm properly lagging.
It's all right. We'll sort this. We'll sort this technical issue. Dan, best thing, leave the chat and come back in again.
See that, mate.
See you, Dan. Take care. Get out. You're sacked.
Right, now we can talk about it.
Now we can carry on. Let's add him back in. Definitely lagging. Every time we were having a conversation, Dan was coming in 10 minutes later. Bless him, living in Liverton. Can't be helped, I suppose.
No, I don't even know if they got the internet. His missus is on a wheel out the back.
Yeah. Hello.
Sorry, I'm on my phone now.
Much better. That's much better, Dan.
I can see the
He's back. Hello. So I was just saying that now we're all on the same wavelength. I was just saying, despite Beckham's kind of educational difficulties as a younger player, he never let that really take over anything, and he stuck with it. And I think that was what was really endearing to watch. He was England captain with very little education about anything in life, really, other than the game of football. And yet he still was England captain. He could lead men. He showed on the field that he was one of the greatest players we've ever seen. And I think with that adversity, he really put everything into being what he could be with those difficulties, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he must have had to be quite headstrong as well. He got battered by the press, didn't he?
Some of the abuse he got after the '98. I remember he'd go to games and fans would throw all sorts at him. He'd get so much abuse, much.
Disgusting.
I think, for anyone who's actually played football as well, especially if you played as a winger, crossing's one of the hardest things to do in football. I know that everyone thinks it's so easy, when you watch professionals play, but to put the ball on someone's head in the box, pinpoint, is literally it is really, really hard. But he could do it. He could do it from a set piece, or he could do it from a moving ball while he was running. And I think that was probably his best quality. His delivery was just absolutely ridiculous, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was class. He was absolutely class. Yeah, perfect. So David Beckham, we all agree on him. So let's flick over to the other side and go left midfield. So Dan, start us off left midfield.
I've gone a little bit outside the box. One, because I couldn't think of loads of good left midfielders that we've had.
Yeah.
And two, because he scored the best England goal I've ever seen. So I've gone for Joe Cole.
Oh.
The goal I'm on about is the one against Sweden, where he took it down his chest and volleyed it. I think it was World Cup 2006. Technically, he was quality. Like really good, really good dribbler. When he was like a flair player when we didn't really have a flair player like that. We didn't have anyone really like in that generation who could like get the ball down and go past like 3 or 4 players who had like really kind of quick feet. Gerrard was kind of more explosive. Lampard was your goal scorer, your late runs from midfield, and I mean Scholes didn't even bother with England, so I wouldn't even bother talking about him. But yeah, he was a really good dribbler, really good flair player, and he was a little bit unlucky with injury as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
And like his early days of Chelsea as well, when he was there.
Whoa! Started at West Ham. Let's talk about West Ham first. West Ham is where he made his name, and then Chelsea got a big move, and then went on. Then didn't he? So you have to remember that. We have to remember that players come from those great smaller clubs, mate. At some point,
I don't like West Ham, so I don't really want to mention them.
He was like.
Hey, what if you went through that England squad? Most of the players that we've talked about started at West Ham or Villa somewhere along the line.
There's a few West Ham players in there. Yeah,
there is. So what was your choice? Sorry, Matt, go on, mate.
Joe Cole was like a foreign player, wasn't he, in an England player's body?
Yeah, he's like Brazilian.
Yeah, it's literally like you said, Dan. In that time, we didn't really have that sort of player. That sort of player who did a step over and drop the shoulder and take players on, and he was underrated as well. And if you speak to anyone who was like, as Aaron quite rightly pointed out, that West Ham like academy churned out some really good players, and they all say that like Joe Cole was the best one.
Yeah.
The most talented.
So if you went through that list just of players like I've labelled already, David Beckham started his career at West Ham. John Terry started his career at West Ham.
Lampard,
Joe Cole, Glenn Johnson, Frank Lampard, Ferdinand. I mean, the list goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite some academy starting there. Cool.
It's mad to think, innit, really, that like they've churned out all those academy players, but they've been so rubbish.
Yeah, well, because they've all gone, haven't they? None of them have ever. None of them have ever stayed at West Ham for any longer than a year after they came onto the scene. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because West Ham aren't a retainable team; they're a selling club. That's the way it is.
Says it all.
Says it all, mate. Yeah. Go on then. Kick us off with your left winger, then, Matty.
Left winger. To get him in the team, and I'm sure he could do it there. It was either he play left wing or he play like in the number 10. So I've gone for Wayne Rooney.
Oh.
Bit of a weird one because I wanted to get the front guys in that I've got. But Rooney was probably, I don't know, he might have been the most talented player of my time up there. Just what for more than anything, just for like longevity. Playing for England from the age of like 18 all the way through.
Yeah.
Great amount of caps, goals, all sorts, and just a really, you could tell he loved playing for England, and he was everywhere. But very strong, very he'd put his foot in, but also just technically really gifted.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer, really. Rooney's probably got to be in everyone's team.
He could have done a job with Kenny off the left.
Yeah, I think so. I would love to see him just coming off that left and just top binning it all the time, just whipping it. That'd be class.
Yeah, no, he was class, and he went on to lead his country as well as captain, didn't he? Yeah. Rightful decision there for sure.
Another one from probably quite a poor upbringing, like family background. I can't imagine he was. I can imagine it was a struggle to get started out and to go from that to those humble beginnings to become England captain and probably, one of the best players of our generation. Fair play. You must have a lot of talent and ability.
I remember the game that he came on as a sub, 16 years old, and scored that absolute screamer against the Scum. I remember that. What a goal that was. Welcome. It was. But welcome to the Premier League. Like, that was unreal, wasn't it? He was class.
The Scum against the Scum.
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course. We've got 2 Scums here, haven't we? Luckily, we don't have to talk about my Scum because they haven't been in the Premier League for years. So, no, absolutely, totally agree with you, mate. And well put. To be fair, I think Rooney could have played anywhere, and actually, in his later days, proved that he could play in any midfield role as well. Yeah, sit a bit deeper and do what he needed to do in that more commanding leader role in the middle. So yeah, for sure. So I've gone with not because he's you know, had his best days, I think, at Villa, but because he was so ambidextrous, left foot, right foot, he was quick, he was skillful. I've gone with Ashley Young on the left.
I knew you'd get him in.
I knew that was coming.
Well, it has to be done. You know, come on. When Villa were at their best under O'Neill, and we had Ashley Young, Gareth Barry, James Milner, Stuart Downing, that was the best midfield around at the time. You couldn't get a better midfield than that. Correct?
What?
And Ashley Young.
At what level?
Sorry, outside the top four. Outside the top four.
Bottom half. Yeah, fair enough.
You know, so for me, yeah, he's got to be in there. He was electric. I remember the goal that he scored against Everton in a 3-2 last minute thing where he knocked it past the defender and ran past. Do you remember that?
He actually was when he played like attacking, when he was a proper winger, and when he was at Villa, yeah, he was actually very good. Yeah, he was.
Even early days at United, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he scored.
Yeah.
I remember when United boxed the Scum 8-2.
Yeah.
And Young was he was class. Yeah, I remember the goal he scored for Villa against Everton.
Yeah.
Because I think Everton scored and it was 2-2, and then Villa went up with Brendan scored.
Correct.
And then 3-2.
Yeah, it was unreal.
That Villa team was actually decent.
Thank you, Matt. They were. They just needed one or two more players to break into that top four.
I tell you what I loved. I think that me and Dan have talked about him before. Was Big John Carew.
Yeah, loved him, mate.
Beast.
If this was my Villa all-time select, Big John would be at the top, no doubt. No doubt. He was amazing, mate. And we swapped him for Barros. What a deal that was. Great.
Hey, yeah, fair play.
He was
Big
class,
JC.
mate. Class.
Big JC.
Oh man, he was good. He was so good. Him and Gabby up top for Villa was lethal. So for me, I've gone with Ashley Young. I had to get him in there because of what he did for Villa and what he was like as a player for us. And actually, in my eyes, should have probably had a few more England caps, but injuries and performances of other players just pipped him to it, really. So
I think actually, to be fair, he played at the last World Cup, didn't he? He played left wing back.
Yeah.
And he did quite a good job, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, he's no defender, but he works his arse off. That's the thing. Yeah. So he will graft it out.
And now he's at Inter Milan. So
he's at Inter Milan.
He must have something all right about him.
Yeah. He's a good player.
And that bird shat in his mouth either.
That's so gross. He denied it, didn't he, as well? But
yeah.
Nah,
what else is it?
Mate. You got shit in your mouth.
Right, good, lovely. So we've got our midfield sorted. So now we need our central midfielders. Sorry, we've got our wingers sorted. Now we need our centre midfielders. So I'm going to label two off at a time like we did with defenders. So for me, I've gone with Steven Gerrard, which you'll be pleased to know, Dan. Of course, for me, he has to be in there. And I've also gone with Gaza. So Paul Gascoigne alongside him. I remember watching Gascoigne in my younger days and just, what a player to watch. So much passion, so much prowess, so much ability. Shame it went a bit tits up for him at the end of his career and kind of into his personal life, but what a player he was. And I think he would have sat lovely against a younger Gascoigne would have sat lovely against a Gerrard in the middle for us.
Yeah, I'd have loved to see that. He's like an icon in with Gaza, really.
Yeah.
Like an England icon. I never actually got to watch him because, unfortunately, I wasn't old enough. But I've seen, like, my dad used to give me videos when I was, like, 4 or 5, and I used to watch them all day of, like, Italia 90 and then Euro 96 and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that goal he scored against Scotland when he knocked over that bloke's head and then the water bottle cello, like that.
Yeah.
Class, mate. He was class. He was absolutely class.
I wish I got to watch him, like kind of when he was in his prime, but unfortunately I have to watch videos and YouTube videos of him.
And he had the same kind of mentality as those players that we've labelled previously as well. So he was in that kind of Stuart Pearce, Gary Neville kind of character. You know, he had that tenaciousness about him. He was a bit hardcore. He was a bit rough and ready. Actually, that was quite typical of that 80s, 90s England side, really. We were quite like that, weren't we? Yeah. Very hard to beat, but perhaps didn't score a lot. But we were solid and strong, which was good. So, yeah, for me, Gerrard and Gaza. Matty, what have you gone for?
Exactly the same.
Oh, mate. So,
Yeah, I can't. You can't make you can't really make a case for anyone else but having Gerrard in there.
No.
Some people are. I'm sure Dan will go on to this, but we might as well open the debate. Some people will talk about Paul Scholes. Not for me.
Not for me either.
Because I just think when the going got tough at England and we had a lot of competition in that midfield, he retired at 30 or whatever.
Yeah. 29.
England duty.
29. Yeah.
29. Do you know what I mean? I just think people go on about him so much, and I'm sure he was a good player and all that, and blah blah.
Throwing
blah.
the towel in a bit, innit?
He threw the towel in. He couldn't tackle.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
I think he bottled midfield competition when he thought he was above it.
Yeah. For me, actually. Sorry, Matt. For me, Scholes, he doesn't even get a thinking in my mind when I think about England midfielders either. He doesn't. He's not in my thoughts. You know, there's probably 8-9 players that I could choose from, and Scholes is not in there at all. He's never in that thinking for me.
I agree.
So,
and then obviously Gaza, like, he probably had his best days at Tottenham, which was bliss, because I think he was just like a lad on the pitch. He's a bit like when Wayne Rooney burst onto the scene and that. He was just like a lad from the street just playing football because he loved it. And I think that the reason, I don't know how he's still alive, but like the reason why his life kind of took such a turn was because he just missed playing for England and he missed playing. He just loved football so much.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything else to it that, like, I mean, he's obviously addicted to he's got alcoholism and stuff, and he's an alcoholic. But I literally think that's all born because he missed playing.
Of course.
He just loved it so. He loved it so much. He was so passionate about playing. Went and did it for Lazio, and come the end, Rangers. He was class at Rangers. He was really in a really good Rangers team when they had quite a bit of money. And I think he finished it like Borough and Everton and stuff. But I think he would still be playing today. I think if he could.
Agreed. It's quite a relevant player to discuss, actually, considering the reason why we're all here in the first place. You know, for Gaz, football was his mental sanctuary, and when it was removed from his day-to-day life, he really struggled mentally. He really fell into a dark place, and that's when his alcoholism and his gambling really took over, because that was kind of his only replacement.
It was in an era, wasn't it? You said about like the 80s, 90s and that, but England teams notorious in those era, that era, for being quite heavy drinkers, and there's quite a drinking culture around it. So when football's the thing that keeps you level, and you've got that other culture going as well, when that goes, that just takes over, doesn't it? It just blows off. So I think, I don't know. I think could people? The thing is, if you straighten him out too much and he's not Gaza.
Yeah.
If you look after him too much, he loses the beauty of what he was good, why he was good.
I agree.
That off the cuff kind of, again, he's another one who could have played in any era, I think.
Yeah. He wouldn't have struggled in today's game with the way he played.
No chance.
Good. Right then, Dan, finish us off with something a bit different, or are you going to go the same?
I haven't gone the same. I've obviously got Stevie G in there.
Yeah.
Because favourite player, probably a little bit biased, but you both included him as well, so I don't feel bad putting him in.
No, it's the right decision.
I think he was a little bit unlucky that he wasn't captain for more games. I don't think he was actually captain for that long, probably because of the whole Terry thing. But they tried giving it to like Lampard and Ferdinand and people like that who weren't actually captains of their club. So I don't know why they just didn't, like Capello and McLaren kind of like fannied around with it. They should have just stuck JT on it and put Gerard Weiss or the other way around. I think he was Rooney, Lampard, Owen and Heskey, just a few of the players to say that he was the best English player they played with. So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know, really. I've actually got a theory about him that he could have actually carried on playing longer for England, but he didn't, because he was on 114 caps and Beckham was on 115, and I'm convinced he retired because he didn't want to be in the limelight and he didn't want to be known as the most capped outfield English player, because he would have been if he carried on playing. And I personally think that he didn't want to be known as that because he couldn't quite carry across his club form to his country, like a lot of the players.
Yeah.
So I honestly think that's why he retired then, because he didn't want to be known as that. He didn't want to be known as the most capped outfield English player.
Interesting
I
theory.
think he probably thought that he could have done a lot better than he did for England. But I thought he actually had, out of sort of like that golden generation, I thought he was probably one of the better players. He did quite. He scored a few goals in tournaments. I think he got, even in Euro 2012 when we were pretty crap, and Rooney missed the first 3 games through suspension in Euro 2012. I think Gerrard got like 3 or 4 assists in the group stage, and then he got into the team in the tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gerrard's a no-brainer. And then I've gone for Fat Frank as well. I think he's England's highest scoring midfielder, although he did score quite a lot of penalties. He was another one who couldn't like quite carry across the club form to the national team.
I agree.
Couldn't play, like him and Gerrard. They say that like they couldn't play together, but it's partly because they just sat like both of them next together each other in midfield.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like putting like 2 really attacking players together in a midfield. It's like Man City playing a 4-4-2 and putting like Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne centre mid. Like it just wouldn't. You need an anchor, and we never had that. But yeah, Lampard was decent for his country. I think, like we meant, I couldn't get Scholes in just because, like Matt said, like to retire at age 29, like a lot of people like dub him as like the greatest like midfielder the Premier League's ever seen, and all this. Like, yeah, he was better for United, but like why couldn't he do it for England? I know they say they shoved him on the left, but I remember watching England games and he never actually stuck to the left. He drifted to the middle. So yeah, I couldn't get Scholes in. I think it's a little bit. I was thinking of maybe putting like a Carrick or a Hargreaves in there, because I think both of them did quite well when they played for England. It's a shame. Both of them probably should have had more caps.
Yeah.
But
Owen Hargreaves, man. Let's just talk about Owen Hargreaves for a few minutes. Came out of nowhere.
He had a weird kind of journey to the top.
Yeah,
really. I think he was born in Canada, maybe.
Yeah.
English and German.
Played in Germany.
Played for Bayern Munich for years and played in the team. He was a really good player, actually.
He was. I loved him, but he came out of nowhere. That's my point. Like he just sprouted out from this weird player.
I mean, in all our lifetimes, you could probably name on one hand the amount of players that played in the England team that played abroad.
Yeah,
but they just didn't do it, did they? And I remember you'd have the whole list, and it would be a list of Premier League clubs next to these players, and then you'd have Owen Hargreaves, Bayern Munich, and it's mad.
Yeah.
And you must be a good player to be able to play in the Bayern Munich team. Don't care what anyone says.
Yeah. I thought he could have probably come into the team a little bit earlier on, and then I think I'm pretty sure he won England Player of the Year one year.
He did. Yeah.
So that just goes back to what you're saying, Dan, and what we've said in previous weeks. Like they were so rigid on playing a 4-4-2 that it was just impossible to get him in, wasn't it? When you had Lampard and Gerrard ahead of him.
Yeah. And in fact, when Neville was out for that short period of time, in his later days, Owen played right back for some time as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did. Good player, Owen Hargreaves. Very good player.
Oh, mate, I loved watching him. I loved watching him. I thought he was class. Yeah, I thought he was class. Interesting player. And then you've got Carrick as well that you could have put in there. And you've got Gareth Barry that did a little bit in there. You've got who else have you got that played in that middle? Not perhaps as long as they would like to have done.
Milner.
Milner, James. I mean, for me, James Milner. If we were talking about the most versatile player we've ever seen, James Milner would be my top choice.
He'd be in my squad, definitely.
Yeah, he'd be in my sub bench for sure. Yeah. I wouldn't need a left back, a right back, a midfielder, a striker, or a left midfielder because James Milner could play all of them. Yeah, he's class.
Another criminally underrated player, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Good. All right. So let's move on to our strikers, our top men. Interesting. So let's go with Gaffer. Give us your 2 top men.
I've gone for a partnership as well, but I've gone for Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
Who I was watching an interview of Dimitar Berbatov yesterday, and he was saying that Alan Shearer was his idol. And I just think that, like, across the world, he was quite known as being right at the top level.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think, like, I wouldn't have thought you, if you said to, like me, oh, who do you think Dimitar Berbatov's idol is? I wouldn't have said Alan Shearer.
No.
I don't know why. But I'd have Alan Shearer and I'd have Teddy Sheringham, just because of the partnership that they had together. I think it was Euro 96 when on home soil we played Holland, and Holland at the time where they had like Hullet, all the like, you know, they had a really top side in the world, and we just battered them. I think we bummed them at, like, I think it was at Wembley 4-1, and Sheringham scored 2, Shearer scored 2, and they were just class. Other mentions, obviously, you know, one that might not get a mention. I would mention Emil Heskey.
Yes.
He's so unfairly like joked about. I think I used to love Emil Heskey.
Yeah.
Him and Owen together
were great.
Yeah,
we're great.
He was a target man and stuff, and I really liked Emil Heskey.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that when we were talking about like favourite Premier League squad before in a few episodes back, I kind of went with the players that were the best in every position, I thought. But in regards to when you do an England side, you have to think of like the relationships a little bit more and the partnerships that we've seen thrive, because although maybe one of those players in a partnership wasn't the best player, he made the other player in that partnership the best he could be. And I think Emil Heskey made Owen the man he was in an England side, because he just provided him with everything he needed to score a goal.
Definitely.
Didn't
For Liverpool as well, I reckon if you asked Owen who was like his favourite strike partner,
He'll say Heskey.
He would say Heskey.
Yeah.
I think I genuinely think he would, because he was like, and so he just did all the dirty work and all the going up for headers and knockdowns and bullying the defenders and just making a space for Owen, really.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, good, mate. So you've gone with Teddy Sheringham and Alan Shearer. Okay, cool.
Class.
Dan, who are you going for?
I've gone for Rooney and Harry Kane.
Oh.
So Rooney, just because England's all-time top goal scorer,
class.
Just like not really respected, really. Unlucky with injury, actually. Like in like the mid 2000s, like he did like his metatarsal or something before World Cup 2006, and we rushed him back, and then Euro 2004, he's obviously quality, and then obviously didn't hit the heights quite in the like big competitions, but like probably the most talented England player I've seen, just purely on like what he can do with the ball at his feet. Passionate as well. And then I've gone Harry Kane, just because of Harry Kane's like goal scoring record, really, like to win a World Cup Golden Boot. He's got like 32 goals in 45 games. Like that's pretty ridiculous. Like if you say he's going to play, if he carries on at that record and he plays like 90 or 100 games, he's going to score like 65, 70 goals for England.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what I think he'll break Rooney's record. I think he needs like 22 more to break the record, and he'll probably do that in the next like 4 or 5 years, I would have thought. I didn't realise he actually scored more goals for England than Shearer. And he's only played 45 games,
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that.
You look at Owen, had 40 goals in 89 games. Lineker had 48 in 80. But then like 32 and 45, I think that's ridiculous.
I think for me, I'm going to be controversial here. I don't know whether you'll agree, but a few weeks ago, Matt talked about Kane having hit his peak, I think, and in some regards, and for me, it's only Kane's goal scoring ability that for me would get him in the England side. I think he just is so over what's the word I'm looking for? Overrated, so overrated in so many other aspects of the game. For me.
I don't know. I think parts of his game are a little bit underrated. I think like it's like hold up. If you watch him for Spurs, like when he's fit, his hold up play, and like when people run past him and he flicks balls on, and he'll like his vision as well. Like he'll drop deep and pick the ball up in his own half and spray a ball out wide. Like I think he's a little bit underrated in that respect. Like he's England's 6th all-time goal scorer. Like like people have got people have got to respect that.
Yeah, I do respect that. I do respect his goal scoring. I do. I just think for me, there's better strikers for England than him.
The Michael Owen was close to getting in, very close to getting in because he was one of my heroes growing up, and also Peter Crouch was close to getting in because his goal scoring record for England was ridiculous as well. But yeah, I've got Harry Kane and Wazza. That's my team.
I think just going back to something quickly you said about Rooney, like about how he struggled with injuries. That golden generation were really unfortunate, weren't they, going into tournaments?
Yeah.
Like we always had something.
Gerrard got injured 2002 World Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, he got replaced by Nicky Butt.
Yeah, I think he missed that.
Nicky Butt.
Mate, honestly, Pele said that Nicky Butt was our best player in that tournament. Fair play. I bet Nicky Butt dines out on that now. Christ.
I thought it was Trevor Sinclair our best player in that tournament.
Either or, mate. Barnby.
That's someone we missed out. That's someone we missed out on the wing. Actually, was Sean Wright Phillips. What about that for a winger?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was quite good. Is anyone going for Ian Wright or not?
No. So I've gone for Alan Shearer. So I agree with Matt on the Alan Shearer one. And then I've gone for Peter Crouch, as you said, was nearly in yours. So I've just gone for two big top men. I haven't gone for a partnership. I've just gone for two men that I thought would, I love Shearer. I chose him in my all-time Premier League select as well, remember? And then Peter Crouch. I just think Peter Crouch was so underloved and underappreciated by people. His goal, some of the goals he scored, some of those bicycle kicks and flicks and all sorts of stuff, man, were just insane in class. And he scored loads of goals for England. So for me, Crouchy gets my final slot. We
were talking. You're just saying then about obviously Owen saying Heskey was his favourite partner. I was watching an interview with Rafa van der Vaart from when he was at Spurs, and he's had a hell of a career, like played for all the top clubs, and he said that the best centre forward that he played with was Peter Crouch.
It's Peter Crouch, yeah.
They had a really good understanding, big man, little man kind of thing.
Yeah, good feet, didn't he?
Yeah.
And if you remember as well, Jermaine Defoe and Peter Crouch at Portsmouth, and then both at Tottenham.
Yeah.
You know, that was Jermaine Defoe. Yeah, Jermaine Defoe. Another great partnership that went on, similar to the Michael Owen Heskey thing.
Yeah.
You know, little man, big man.
I think England have always been blessed with good strikers, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like, especially in the last 20 or 30 years. Like, in the 90s, you had Sheringham, Shearer, Wright, Fowler, Lineker, Yeah, it
was good.
Right, I love Ian Wright, to be fair.
Ian Wright was class, yeah. He didn't score enough goals for England, though, did he, really?
No, he couldn't. I don't think he could be in the discussion, but he's just a funny bloke as well.
I mean, he's a great pundit, isn't he? He's a great pundit.
He really is. Yeah, he really is.
Great
and
pundit.
I remember when he was doing ITV for like the England games and stuff. He just loves it so much. I think he was in the studio when that Wales game.
Yeah.
Him and I can't remember who else it was. Maybe Dixon, but they just went absolutely mental.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Fabulous. Great. Okay, cool. So that's our first 11 England selects of all time. Definitely some players in there for some discussion, I'm sure. And like we've discussed all throughout the video cast, you know, there's probably a number of players that we could have chosen in those positions. But for us, they're the players that we felt were appropriate for those positions. So we'll be back again next Saturday for another one, of course, something a little bit different again. Maybe a discussion around something as opposed to a selection of a team for next week's. But the weather's good this weekend, so enjoy yourselves, guys. Stay safe, stay at home, keep battling through this lockdown, and we'll love you and leave you there. Thanks for your time, boys.
No worries,
mate.
And take care, guys. See you again next week.
Cheers.